What it do, YouTube, and welcome to Black Cinema Central, where we talk about classic Black films and why they're dope. I'm the Naomi Williams, and today's video is a showdown. Set It Off versus Dead Presidents. Two dope Black heist movies and two Black tragedies. The definition of a tragedy being mad people die at the end, so these movies might leave you feeling some type of way, but that's what makes them classics. Now to the important question, which one wins in a versus battle? I personally believe that Dead Presidents wins this battle. But before I go into why, let's talk about Set It Off. After being fired from her job as a bank teller, Frankie, played by Vivica A. Fox, begins working at a janitorial service with her friends. Deshawn, played by Kimberly Elise, a single mother, Cleo, played by Queen Latifah, a badass lesbian, and Stoney, played by Jada Pinkett Smith, who's dealing with the recent death of her brother. The women are struggling with their finances, so they decide to start robbing banks. At first, the group is successful, but they soon attract the attention of an obsessive detective played by John C. McGinley. This movie is dope because it, one, has no lulls. The pacing is consistently pushing you forward to the next scene. The movie has a strong opening. The robbery that results in Frankie losing her job and stirs a lot of animosity within this character that pretty much defines her throughout the film. And two, the main characters are developed. It sounds like something that should happen in every movie, but that's not always the case when it comes to characters who are Black women. In this movie, we fully understand what we need to know about their motivations and intentions. Stoney doesn't want to feel like a caged bird in her own community and is ready for a fresh start. Frankie wants to wrong a system that has wronged her. Titi wants to regain custody of her son and to be able to provide for him. Cleo's character doesn't necessarily see herself leaving the hood, but simply wants to be able to do what she wants to do. Buy nice things and enjoy the present moment. Understanding these characters makes the overall story that much more enjoyable and tragic when the characters begin dying off in an attempt to escape the city after their final robbery together. This movie is also dope because of the bond these women share. They're each other's ride or dies, and self-sacrificial decisions are made without hesitation because they truly have love for one another. Are they perfect? No. Did Cleo totally put a gun in her friend's face because her friend didn't want to rob another bank? Yes. But these moments of tension are real. These characters stand up to one another unapologetically, which is also how they stand up for one another. The relationship between bank manager Keith Weston, played by Blair Underwood, and Stoney is a warm look into conversations and moments of understanding between Black people from two different socioeconomic classes. Classism is a very real thing, not just throughout this country, but especially within the African American community. But Keith doesn't come for Stoney's life choices because she doesn't have the same come-up story he does. He doesn't assume Stoney's brother was in a gang after she tells him he was killed recently. He listens. And one of my favorite moments is when Stoney tells Keith she feels very much caged in her environment. The first thing Keith asks is, "And what are you doing about that?" And I love how a moment of frustration was met with a question of mindset, as opposed to a blame game. Keith doesn't say, "Oh, you're in this situation because you're lazy." He listens and responds to this beautiful Black woman because he actually likes her, and their chemistry is a joy to watch on the screen. And can we talk about how this man, Samuel Monroe Jr., is always playing somebody who starts or is in the middle of some shit in every movie he's in? I see him, I react like I do when I see Clifton Powell pop up on the screen. Aw, shit. Here we go. What he want? Don't trust him? How did y'all feel about Set It Off? Did you like the ending? Did you find their friendship dynamic to be relatable? Let me know in the comments below. Now, onto the movie I believe wins this showdown, Dead Presidents. Soldier Anthony Curtis, played by Lorenz Tate, returns to his Bronx home after a traumatic tour of duty in Vietnam. But the nightmare continues for Anthony and his friends as they suffer the indignities of trying to find steady work and provide for their families in a failing economy. As desperation takes hold, Anthony teams up with his friend, Skip, played by Chris Tucker, who served in Vietnam alongside Anthony, his friend Jose, played by Freddie Rodriguez, Delilah, played by Mbushe Wright, gorgeous, who was grown into a militant young woman, and Kirby, played by Keith David, who's a small time crook in the area. Together, they attempt to rob an armored truck in hopes that it'll give them a chance at a better life. This movie is dope because, one, it defines its world so beautifully. We begin in the South Bronx in the late 60s. The draft for the Vietnam War is in full effect, and our protagonist is actually looking forward to enlisting. He doesn't want to go to college and sees enlisting as an opportunity for adventure. Unfortunately, he ends up getting a little adventure with a lot of trauma and returns to the South Bronx in the early 70s to find that it's incredibly difficult to find and keep a job, let alone one that pays well enough for him to support himself, his pregnant baby mother, and his young child. Drug use is a theme that manifests in different ways in this story and speaks to the realities of low-income Black communities in the 70s. Chris Tucker's character, Skip, is addicted to heroin, and Anthony ends up drinking a lot to deal with his anxiety. The overall tone of the movie is captured through the nuances of urban Black life. I personally thought Dead Presidents did more to capture those struggles than Set It Off did. This movie also has a dope soundtrack that really paints a portrait of the late 60s and early 70s. We start with more upbeat Motown tunes and then transition into a gritty, jazzy funk sound with music from Isaac Hayes and Curtis Mayfield. We also get tons of political undertones that again further paint a portrait of this moment in time for not only working class families living in the Bronx, but for Black vets specifically. When Anthony returns from Vietnam, the Black people organizing in his community are noticeably more militant. We're post-civil rights era, and there's a huge amount of disillusionment because not only are Black people still being disenfranchised in several different ways, but the financial state for people in urban communities is terrible. Have you ever heard of the saying, the Bronx is burning? If not, do some research on the South Bronx in the 70s through the 80s, or better yet, get somebody who lived it to tell you how that shit was. Wild. This movie comments on the irony that comes with being a Black person who fought in the Vietnam War. For all that he did in Vietnam, Anthony had little to no support once he returned. He was convinced his only hope was to rob an armored truck. And when he got caught by the cops and had his day in court, there was no empathy. The white judge, who was a World War II vet, looked him in his eyes and said the Vietnam War wasn't even a real war. I saw this movie for the first time when I was in elementary school and understood the ending very well. Just because you voluntarily went to another country to protect and serve the people of your nation does not guarantee your nation will protect and serve you when you return, especially as a Black man in America. So there's a lot of historical relevance in this movie when it comes to what working class Black families in urban communities were struggling with at a specific moment in time in this country. And that is why I love Dead Presidents a little more than Set It Off. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about Dead Presidents and what you thought about its historical relevance. Maybe you were in the South Bronx through the 70s and they got some stuff wrong. Let these kids know how crazy NYC was back in the day. They don't know. I'll tell you what's not historically relevant in this movie: the accents. I can't stand it when a movie is about someone somewhere in New York City and no one has New York accents. I swear, Lorenz Tate sounds like he's from LA in every damn role he does. It's alright though. He's talented, so I give him a pass.